The opening sequence of Arise, A Simple Story may have you thinking it's something that it's not. Looking ahead at the mountain peak in the distance through the actions of a silent protagonist would leave anyone feeling like they've seen this before. Instead of relying on the open interpretations that these games trend on, Arise doesn't leave players wondering what they witnessed. Instead, they put it all out there to take a hold of the player's emotions. However, it's up to the players if this is a story they would like to experience. Arise begins by introducing the protagonist known as the Old Man, as he is ritually burned for his funeral. As the scene fades to white, the man awakens to see that he is on a heavenly white mountaintop that beckons him to regale the emotional moments in his life. From meeting the love of his life to his adult years, the man travels through the afterlife. This is all in hopes of coming to peace with the story that he has lived. Each moment of the old man's life is divided by chapters, with each chapter being driven by a critical moment in his life. These moments are what give each chapter its particular theme. The first chapter, titled She, visualizes the youthful wonder that the man felt as a child and how he found love. Color and prominent blades of the grass that are contrast with the playful pockets of snow present a beautiful environment to portray the adventurous and extended time that the man idolized this chapter in his life. Meanwhile, later chapters like Away is the complete opposite. The man encounters hardship to which the level reflects with darker color tones, melancholic music, and a valley that illustrates his inner struggle. These heartstrings tugging scenes do a great job of making me feel like the emotions were extended to me, as I try to use the game's time shifting and mechanics to take control of the situations in some of the chapters, only to learn the limitations of those abilities. When it comes to the setting of which these chapters take place, Arise, A Simple Story does a great job of taking many different elements to create a cohesive world. Regardless of the ever-transforming environment or new game mechanics, every chapter flows and feels natural to the story. As for the music that guides the passions for the man, they are simple melodies in the playable sections of the game, with most of the time letting the ambient sounds of the game environment dictate the experience. In the build-up or climactic cutscenes, the music engulfs the presentation and pushes the intended emotion. Looking past all the emotions and semblance of Arise, A Simple Story, players can find that the game is a platformer at heart. Moving the man through the life-defining moments requires a lot of running, jumping, and climbing. But what makes Arise unique to other core platformers is the time-shifting mechanics that is available at all times of playing. With either trigger of the controller, the player can move the world's perception of time back and forth. Given the context, this means that the player can shift the time of day, the amount of snow on the ground, or objects moving through space. Also, the time-shifting abilities can give the game a solid grounds for our light puzzles that can be solved with timing or placement. This mechanic is used in various ways through the adventure, and I found it to be fairly creative. However, sometimes the platforming sections of the games feel a bit off, as the physics don't work well with the game's accurate platforming sections. This causes some frustration and often made me feel that the game is being unfair. Still, these portions of the game are few and far between, but the lack of direction and awkward platforming in a game that is story focused makes these moments stand out. I have a soft spot for games that wish to tell heartbreaking stories, full of lessons, tough topics, and bright outcomes for those that persevere. Slow pacing, less than accurate platforming, and lack of clarity are all something that Arise, A Simple Story is guilty in one form or another. But given the fact that the game's namesake, A Simple Story, rings true throughout the entire quest, it helps break the rules a little bit, especially with the simplicity of how the time shift never once caused any of the frustrations that I had with the game. So I say if you're as big a sap as I am, but not as fussy about the controls, Arise, A Simple Story is well worth the time. I know it's a story that stayed in my mind well after the closing credits. Noisy Pixels giving Arise, A Simple Story, an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Noisy Pixels ran by a group of gamers dedicated to giving you news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe here on YouTube and click the little bell in the corner to keep up with all of our latest videos.